King Shantanu watches in horror as his wife drowns their baby. He wants to rush forward, but he stops. Something holds him back. He chooses to watch in silence as his newborn son disappears beneath the water. But this horror will happen again. Shantanu will eventually break his silence, although not before it's too late. Why does a king choose to let his children die? What could be more important than his son's life? To understand this, we need to go back, all the way back to heaven itself, where this same king in his previous life made a mistake that would follow his soul across lifetimes. Gods, immortals, and sages sit around the divine fire performing the eternal yagna. In the center of it sits Mahabhisha, a king so perfect he had earned his place among the gods. Then goddess Ganga appears, a sacred river in human form. A sudden gust of wind stirs and lifts Ganga's clothing. The entire assembly lowers their gaze out of respect, except one. Mahabhisha stares. Ganga notices and smiles. But more importantly, the gods notice too. The punishment is quick and brutal. The gods cast Mahabhisha's soul back to earth. His divine status stripped away, and to be reborn as King Shantanu, the same father who watched his child drown. Ganga is banished too, but the gods have a different plan for her. She has to teach this king self-control by forcing him to choose between his obsession for her and his love for his children. A single glance becomes a curse that will force a perfect king in heaven to become a helpless father on earth. And this fatal glance won't be the last. Mahabhisha's soul is reborn on earth as King Shantanu. He has no memory of his punishment, but Shantanu is about to face the same temptation that destroyed him in heaven. One day, while hunting near a river, Shantanu sees a woman of impossible beauty. It's Ganga, the very goddess he once stared at in heaven, now walking the earth. His soul remembers what his mind has forgotten. Unlike Shantanu, Ganga remembers everything. Shantanu is obsessed and he wants to marry Ganga right there. Ganga agrees, but on one condition. Shantanu must never question anything she does. If he breaks this promise, she will leave him forever. Shantanu wants to marry her so badly that he agrees, ignoring all the red flags. He is making the same fatal choice that destroyed him in heaven. Soon, he will have to choose, keep Ganga or save his children. When Ganga gives birth to their first baby boy, Shantanu thought the heavens had finally blessed him. He had no idea his test was about to begin. That evening, Ganga took their child towards the river. Shantanu follows her at a distance, completely unaware of the horror that's about to unfold. Ganga cradles the newborn, going deeper into the water. The baby shifted relentlessly against the cold, and then, in one swift motion, she drowned the baby. Every instinct screams at Shantanu to rush forward, but his promise to Ganga holds him back. He watches his son drown. But this was just the beginning. The second son is born. The same walk to the river. The same horror. The same devastating silence. Year after year, Shantanu chooses Ganga over his children's lives. In all, Shantanu let 7 babies drown. The kingdom began to whisper, what kind of king has no successor? What kind of father stays silent while his babies drown? Every birth, Shantanu promised himself he would act. But every death, he discovered his desire for Ganga was stronger than his promise to himself. 7 sons, 7 tests, 7 failures. Then Ganga becomes pregnant with their 8th child. Will the king who chose silence 7 times finally find his voice? The 8th child is born. Another son, another walk to the river. But this time, as Ganga lifts the baby towards the water, something inside Shantanu snaps. Years of pain explode out of him. The king, who stayed quiet through 7 murders, rushes into the water. For the first time since their wedding, Shantanu chooses being a father over his obsession with Ganga. Ganga turns with a disturbing calm and reminds him of his broken promise. She tells Shantanu their son will return one day, then vanishes. Shantanu saved 1 son but lost everything else. But saving 1 son only creates a bigger problem, because now, consumed by guilt over his lost wife and years of silence, Shantanu will make his most destructive choice yet. Shantanu waits alone, still grieving his lost wife and child. When Bhishma finally returns as a teenager, Shantanu is overjoyed. This is the son Shantanu risked everything to save. The one person who made him break his promise to Ganga. But beneath the joy, his heart still hungers for love. One day, while hunting near a river, a divine scent stops Shantanu in his tracks. Following it, he finds Satyavati, a woman whose beauty could enchant even the gods. It happens again. That same fatal glance. Shantanu is obsessed. He wants to marry Satyavati right there. The condition for marriage this time? Bhishma, the son Shantanu risked everything to save, had no claim to the throne. Satyavati's future sons would inherit it. With Ganga, Shantanu said yes without even thinking. But faced with disowning his only son, this time Shantanu walked away from Satyavati, heartbroken, alone. But staying away proved impossible. Shantanu began dying, slowly from the inside. His son watched his father wither away, not understanding what was destroying the man he loved. Finally, Bhishma discovers the truth about his father's suffering. The son, once saved by his father, would now have to save his father from himself. When Bhishma learns the truth about his father's dilemma, he gives up everything: his throne, his future, even his right to have children. The most eligible bachelor in the world has just condemned himself to a lifetime of loneliness, all to save a father's broken heart. Shantanu could have refused. He could have told his son no sacrifice was worth it. But even after watching Bhishma destroy his own future, Shantanu still chooses his obsessive desire for Satyavati. And that was Shantanu's tragic choice. But the guilt from accepting his son's sacrifice will drive Shantanu to one final mistake. In trying to free his son, he ends up trapping him forever. Shantanu struggles to live with himself when his son sacrifices everything and in return he gives nothing. Consumed by this guilt, Shantanu decides to give his son the ultimate gift: the power of invincibility in battle and control over death. And with that, Bhishma's fate is sealed. Bhishma gave up his claim to the throne, but Shantanu's boon chains him to it forever. Immortal, invincible, and unable to leave. Shantanu's lack of self control has created his son's absolute control. But how does a son blessed with invincibility and control over death become trapped by his own power? The gods banishing Shantanu's soul from heaven wasn't punishment, it was a warning about what unchecked desire could create. Shantanu had many chances to choose differently. 7 dying children, one son's impossible sacrifice. But desire made him choose what he wanted over what was right every single time. When obsession controls you, even destroying your lineage feels justified as long as you get what you crave. But Shantanu wasn't alone in destroying his legacy. Chained by a guilt-driven blessing, his son would spend over a century watching injustices unfold, unable to act. Next time, we'll meet the legendary warrior Bhishma, a man who took a terrible oath and discovered that sometimes duty becomes the enemy of justice. A tragedy where this immortal warrior didn't see where his path was leading until it was too late.